episode number 2 here. So we have a very special guest on, and I'm very happy to connect with this man. We spoke with him before on social media, on Instagram, and I'll give you a link that you can follow. But first, I want to introduce you to this man. His name is Rob ARKINS. He's 33 years old, originally from Dublin, Ireland, but lives in Vilnius, Lithuania, for the past 4 years with his fiancée and 2 kids. He describes himself as a complete beginner in astrophotography, where he got started in March of 2020. And again, for Rob's work, go and check it out, Vilnius_astro on Instagram, and same you can find in astrobin.com. That's Vilnius_astro. So Rob, really appreciate you today spending this quality time with me.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's always good to connect with like-minded people, you know, and I think even though, as you said, you're a beginner astrophotographer, you know, in the space, but again, by looking at the way you put out your content and how quality of a content you put out, I think you're going to bring a lot of value today to the show. So that's why I wanted to have you on. But okay, let's dig in and let's explore the beginnings, right? The big bang of your own career, you know, like how did you start it, you know, this space exploration hobby that grew, you know, I guess it grew and still grows by the time.
Yeah, well, I don't think I could really pick out one particular moment where I, you know, started my interest. I think I've always been interested, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, I had a subscription to Astronomy and Space magazine, which was a monthly magazine published by Astronomy Ireland. And I'm not sure I read most of the articles, but I was really fascinated by the pictures. And like I must have been about 9 or 10 at that point. And then actually we had great views of Comet Neowise this summer. One of my memories from when I was a kid was of Comet Hale Bopp. I think it was around 1997. So again, I would have been about 9 years old. Yeah, I remember just looking out my bedroom window and being able to see this comet in the sky. And it was much more bright, much more visible than Neowise was this summer. So yeah, I mean, if you can't get interested in space, seeing that kind of thing, you know, nothing will. And then I think I just kept up that interest then as I grew up, you know, just watching space documentaries on the TV or just reading articles online. And then, yeah, like I said earlier this year, just got started in astrophotography. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride since then.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is definitely, you know, an interesting topic. And again, that's the reason why I started the show, because I want to have people just like yourself who can talk about their personal experience. And again, there's a lot of people who wanted to get into space, but again, maybe the time wasn't available. And now due to the COVID and everything's what's going on, there's a lot of people, you know, including myself, who are looking to follow the passion, which I think, you know, space exploration was a passion and still is for a lot of people, but they're just missing the information of what it needs to get started, because sometimes they think it costs like thousands of euros, you know, to get started, and it's super difficult. You have to know all these things, that like the softwares, which we're going to clarify, like what exactly do you need to get started, and it's not that difficult, right? But talking about the influence, because you mentioned, you know, the comet, and you mentioned the magazine, so was those two things the biggest influence on you where you were getting started, or was something else? Maybe there was a person or some sort of event?
In terms of astrophotography,
Yeah.
Well, I probably can't answer that question. And as you talk to more people, they may say the same thing. Yeah, I'd say the biggest person who would be responsible for me for getting into astrophotography would be Astro Backyard, or Trevor Jones. He has a YouTube channel. So earlier this year, probably January, I stumbled across his channel. And yeah, before that, I mean, I knew people were taking great images of space in their back garden, but I guess I always presumed that you needed really expensive equipment, like I said, or you know, it just wasn't something the average person could do. But yeah, Trevor's videos kind of changed all that. You know, he was getting incredible results, and he was showing his viewers exactly how he did it, and it was through those tutorials that he gave in a very straightforward and easy to follow way, that I kind of just thought, well, you know, maybe I can do the same thing. So that's what I did. That's what I tried to do anyway. So
Yeah.
in around February, I went out and bought my first telescope for astrophotography, and then since then I've been doing my best to take the best images I can. So Astro Backyard, Trevor Jones, definitely a huge influence on myself getting started.
Yeah, I'm just on his channel at the moment, and I see he has a lot of content. He put out a lot of content, and again, great looking channel. And by the views and by the titles of the videos, I think there's a lot of great value in these videos. So make sure and go and check it out, Astro Backyard on YouTube, and make sure to subscribe to Trevor's channel. It looks super great. So talking about your own equipment, maybe you can talk about what you worked previously when you got started. I mean, how did you pick the equipment in the first place? Where did you find it? How much did it cost? And what you are currently working?
Yeah, so I'm working with the same equipment that I started with. So I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, maybe 6 months ago when I decided to purchase some gear. So I'm using a wide field refractor telescope. It's a William Optics Zenith Star 61. So it's like I said, it's a wide field refractor. So it's about 360 millimeters in focal length. So it's great for some nebula and large galaxies like Andromeda or the Triangulum, but not so great for other objects like planetary nebula and globular clusters. But you know, for a lot of targets, it's a really great beginner scope. It's not too expensive, but yeah, it's a good start. Then the mount I'm using is a Skyguider, the Ioptron Skyguider Pro. So it's not a fancy mount or anything. It doesn't have any go-to functionality, so you need to find the target and align the target yourself. So that can be a bit tricky at times. Kind of found ways to kind of make that a bit easier. But again, that's not too expensive. I kind of wanted to start off basic. I'd never done any astrophotography before, so I didn't really want to start spending huge amounts of money, realize I'm no good at it or I can't do it, and you know, quit. So so really the goal was to just start off nice and easy, nice and basic. So they're two great ways. And then
So when it comes to the price point, like how much did you spend, you know, for the mount, for the telescope, and you got the camera that goes with it as well, right?
Well, I already had a DSLR camera at home, but I actually bought a new one quite recently and got it modified for So I got a filter removed, which kind of allows in more light in a specific wavelength. So it kind of helps with emission nebula and things like this. So I mean, altogether, God, it's hard to put a price on it. Maybe 2,500 altogether. So I would say that's not too expensive considering the amount you know, you could spend on some equipment. Like if you wanted to go for a go-to mount, depending on what one you want, you could be spending like €1,500 or more, you know.
You know, there's very price items that you can find, you know, on the websites. I mean, they cost thousands. I mean, I seen, you know, equipment that cost, you know, 15 and 20 grand and up, you know. So it just depends, but you know, it's going to be harder to set up, you know, and it's. But like at the beginning, what would you recommend for people who are watching and thinking like, I don't have 25, you know, €100 or dollars? Like what will be kind of minimum price point that they can go and, you know, get the equipment like?
A lot of people at home would probably have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera already. And if they have a tripod, then they could go out tonight and they can start taking pictures of like constellations or maybe some more longer exposure shots of the Milky Way. So if you wanted to kind of get into more deep sky photography, then you would need a camera, a star tracker. So I would recommend the Skyguider Pro, or there's an equivalent called the Star Adventurer by Skywatcher. It's the same kind of thing. They're probably about €400, 500 euro. And there, like I said, there is a bit more work involved. It's not a go-to mount, so you can't just you know, type in the coordinates in your laptop or in the hand device
Yeah,
and glued to the target. So there is a bit more work involved, but you know, if you check out my Instagram channel, you can see the kind of results I'm getting there. So if you put your camera that you have with your star tracker, then you really only need to spend maybe €500 for a decent star tracker to get started. Like you don't necessarily need a telescope, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So if you have a camera, if you don't have a camera, that's a different story, right?
If you don't have a camera already, then yeah, you would need to get yourself a DSLR or a mirrorless camera.
Yeah.
They can be got secondhand quite cheap. The one I have now, it's a Canon 750D. I got that secondhand. I can't remember the name of the website, but it was, I think they're based in England. I paid like €200 for it, you know, and it's a really good edition. And I sent it away then to get modified. That was maybe €100 as well. So
yeah, we need to get a link to that website. I think.
Yeah, definitely send it on to you.
Awesome.
Yeah, name escapes me now, but yeah, it's really great. I mean, like if you look for secondhand gear as well, if you don't have the money to spend on new equipment, secondhand gear is usually just as good, you know, especially with this website for cameras. Yeah, I'd recommend checking this out. I'll send you the link and you can give it to your viewers.
Sure. Yeah, I think that will be valuable. You know, everybody's looking to save money these days, so why not? So talking about the softwares, can you recommend to the people what type of softwares do you need to work on in the beginning, and like again the price points, how much would these cost?
So I do use some software. So I image from my balcony, so I don't you know, take my gear and go to some field somewhere. You know, at the moment I mainly stick to my balcony. So I use a laptop to automate the software. So most of the software for automating your session is actually free. So for the guiding software, I use EP.02. That's free. Then I use an astrophotography tool. That's not free, but it's quite cheap. It's about €18. And astrophotography tool allows you to kind of automate the session itself. So you can set the number of images you want to take. You can set the number of exposures. Sorry, the length of exposures. Yeah, that's a small fee. And then for actually processing the images, I'm a PixInsight user. So there is a few different options there. It seems to me you're either Photoshop or you're PixInsight. So I went with PixInsight because really when I got started, I had no experience in PixInsight or Photoshop. So I just went with PixInsight myself because a lot of people were just saying how great it was because it's specifically built for editing astro images. So yeah, I chose PixInsight and I haven't looked back since. I think it's really great. You know, a lot of people say it has a steep learning curve, but I don't know, like I said, I've no experience in other software. So for me, it was just, you know, like, learning anything else. So PixInsight is quite expensive. I think it's like €280. But it's a one-time fee. So there's no kind of recurring payments. It's not a yearly subscription or anything. It's a one-time fee. As I know, Photoshop is like €11-12 a month. Yeah. So it's not too bad. So yeah, either Photoshop or PixInsight for processing your images seem to be standard. Yeah.
Got it. And how long does it take for you to process an image approximately?
It depends really on kind of, you know, what you're taking an image of and how kind of detailed you want to go. But I would say I could maybe an hour or two. I could kind of get something fairly decent to share. But I mean, you could spend forever just going back over things, throwing something in, loading up again, and kind of going over everything and sharpening here and kind of taking a bit of noise from there. So I would say maybe an hour or two, and you could have a fairly good image. So not that much, you know.
Here you go. And it's been only half a year, right?
Yeah, only half. Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's pretty quick. So talking about accomplishments, and again, half a year, even though maybe for you, as you wrote in the bio, as a beginner, half a year is a half a year. I mean, if like guys, you go on Rob's Instagram, which again is Vilnius _astro. you're going to find some really great photos. So, I mean, you accomplished some great stuff, but what you consider is your like top accomplishment in that half a year?
Well, just on the how fast I've kind of progressed, just before I answer your question, it's just there's so much kind of content out there, you know, on YouTube and on forums for people to learn. So, you know, if you want to spend the time doing it, you know, you can make great progress in a few months. And yeah, so the information's out there, you know, it's easy to access, and yeah, you can find it fairly easily. So my greatest accomplishment, I would say my image of NGC 7000, or that's commonly known as the North America nebula. I think it's kind of the image where I felt like I made a breakthrough, because I've been taking images since probably February or March, and I felt like I wasn't really making much progress. Either the session itself went bad, or I just hadn't got the experience to process the image properly, and I just ended up throwing most of it out, to be honest, because it just felt like it couldn't be something I could share, you know. So yeah, the North American Nebula from June, it just felt like it all came together. So I'm most proud of that one, I think. Like even there a few weeks ago, I did a reprocess of that image to send to yourself for your website. Yeah. And I actually managed to pull out more detail than I had previously, because I guess my skills in PixInsight have kind of improved slightly. So I was able to pull out more data. So that image keeps coming back to me. And if I learn a new technique, I will go back to that image and I'll try and process that again and see what else I can do. And yeah, it's just something that feels like it just, you know, came together well. Yeah. But again, I would also mention Andromeda, because that image, it's like probably my favorite target, I would say, to image. It's been on top of my list since I started, and to actually finally get to do that, I think it was in August, just felt really special as well. So yeah, one of those two images, I would say.
Here we go. So far. I mean, it's not over yet. So far, but that's
well, that's it. Yeah, I'll probably hopefully come back.
Yeah, so I'm sure the North American Nebula is going to get improved at some point. You know, as you said, you're going to come back and look for ways to sharpen the image, but they look really good. Like, you guys should go and check it out and follow Rob on Instagram, and his work it's awesome. Again, I'm a fan. So talking about the life on other planets, I mean, that's a topic that a lot of people who are in astrophotography or, you know, astronomers get asked often, right? So it's a question for you also. Do you think there is life on other planets? And if you think there is or there is not, why do you think that way?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, all right. I think the news this week from Venus, where they found signs of life in the upper atmosphere, I think that's really interesting. I had heard a while ago, probably in a documentary, that it was possible. But I don't know, for me, it kind of felt like it was more science fiction than fact. So I was really surprised to hear that maybe they found science. I think everyone presumed Mars would be the one, you know, and Europa as well is a good candidate.
But we're talking about bacteria-like aliens, yes, right? So if we talk about human-like, you know, aliens, so do you think those things exist?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a scientist, I don't know, but if you look at the amount of exoplanets that have been found, you know, in the last couple of years, I think the current estimate is at least one planet per star. So in our galaxy. So if you look at those numbers, I think we'd be foolish to think that we were so special that we'd be the only ones, you know. I just don't see it. I think there definitely is some form of life anyway in our own, but probably definitely more intelligent life elsewhere in our galaxy, you know. It just, by sheer probability, it just would make sense that there is, you know. I can't see why there wouldn't be, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, how we can say that they're more intelligent? I mean, we are the specimen. We are the it. You know, we're the smartest people on the planet. I mean, there's nothing else. No,
Yeah,
there's definitely something, you know, again, it's everybody's opinion, because that's an opinion. There is no proven facts, except, you know, the Venus, the recent foundings of Sulfitis, and, you know, just those things that coming up just now. But again, what you said, you know, if you just look at, you know, our galaxy, and, you know, there's like billions of other galaxies beside the Milky Way also.
yeah.
And like, you know, there should be something in some shape or form. So who knows? Maybe 2020, with the COVID, with what's going on in the world and economy, maybe there will be some good news, you know, coming up this year also about life on other planets. So who
Well,
knows?
I think if they actually confirmed that there was life on Venus, I think that tells you all you need to know, because
Yeah,
if there's life in two places in our own solar system,
yeah,
I think we'll find that life is probably the rule rather than the exception. Wherever life can exist, it probably does exist in some form. I don't know about intelligent life, but definitely, you
yeah,
know, at
yeah.
least simple single-celled organisms, maybe, you know.
Exactly. Well, it starts from there, right?
Yeah,
It starts
exactly.
from there. So talking about, you know, again, space exploration, astronomy, and like there's hundreds of different things that people should know. And again, there are some questions that people ask more than other questions. You know, like I asked you, do you think there's, you know, life on other planets, or what do you think about the Milky Way? How big is the universe? Like all those type of things. But what do you think is the most important thing that everybody should know, that it's kind of important for you also?
Um, I'm not sure about the most important thing. Something I find really interesting, and it could be important, I guess, for our future of space travel, and maybe towards getting to Mars and finally putting a colony there, is, and I actually didn't know about this until a few months ago. It's a project by NASA called Artemis to bring humans back to the moon by 2024.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. There's like 3 scheduled missions. The first is like just an unmanned mission to the moon, just to orbit and then return. Then the second is a crewed mission to the moon, again just to fly by, and the third will be an actual landing. And I think that's scheduled for 2024, which really isn't that far away. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's really exciting. So I think they'll probably learn a lot about how to survive for even longer periods in space. And like I said, it will hopefully give us answers to some very important questions about how we can get to Mars, how we can colonize Mars, and yeah.
Do you think the colonizing Mars is going to happen soon? What do you think? Like time frame? Like
Um,
just your opinion.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think Elon Musk wants to do it by, was it 2027? I don't think it's going to be that soon, to be honest. Um, I hope it's going to be before I move on. Uh, but 20, 30 years, I would hopefully like to see some trips to Mars. But I
Yeah.
don't know, it's hard to believe. Like with the, um, I was saying about Project Artemis, there's some, in the US government, there's some people objecting to it. They want to put more money into other projects. So that might not even go ahead. So who knows? I think when politics gets involved to things like this, um, it's like a death sentence most of the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's good intentions there for a trip soon, but I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, as I said, you know, where there is projects like this, like Artemis, there's going to be politics involved. I'm just looking at the stats here, quick on Wikipedia, and it says the cost of the project is $35 billion.
Yeah,
So somebody wants to get their hands in the project, you know, and maybe put that money somewhere, you know, somewhere else. But again, that's a big, big project, you know, because as you said, like our generation never witnessed the Apollo, you know, program
yeah.
before. So something, again, there's something to look forward to, you know,
Yeah, I
for
mean,
our generation.
well, it might start to unite people again, like it did in the 60s and 70s with Apollo. You know, might bring people together. But on
Yeah.
the other side of that, like, you know, like you said, it's 35 billion. And that's going to be of American taxpayers' money. I'm sure the vast majority of American taxpayers have bigger problems than a trip to the moon. They probably don't want their money spent there. So, you know, it is a hard one. It's a hard one. But hopefully we can find some way to do it.
Yeah, well, look, it has to be done at some point anyway. I mean, why not? Why not now? Because you know, like all the countries. Again, we this is not the place and time to talk about the politics and economics. This is not the show is for. But if I just mention one thing, there's all these countries are having trillions of dollars in debt currently. So why not to spend another 35 billion and explore and you know other planets, like go on the moon again and go to the Mars and spend all this money. I mean, it's nothing comparing to the debt that all the countries have. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's what a rational person would think, I guess.
exactly. So, listen, what is the most difficult part of being astrophotographer beside the cloudy skies sometimes that you faced in those 6 months?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The weather can be really, um, besides that, I guess just the sheer amount of information you have to digest. Like, you know, not only do you have to be a photographer, you have to be good at image processing as well. Because if you can't process an image, you know, you don't have an image. So yeah, there's just so much information out there between, you know, getting your guiding working each night. Some people have, you know, different opinions on what process to run first on a particular image. It's just there's so much information, and a lot of it kind of conflicts with each other. So you really just need to get stuck in, just start taking images, just trying your best to process them, and just come up with your own solutions, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's like going down a rabbit hole sometimes. You look for an answer to a question, and there's just so many opinions, so many people giving, you know, what they think is the right way to do it, which might not necessarily suit your situation. So yeah, definitely just trying to get that information and just digest it all, I would say, is the most difficult thing about it, you know. And especially because I actually don't know any other astrophotographers personally, so I don't really have anybody to contact, except online, of course. I mean, there's forums there like Cloudy Nights, like I think I mentioned earlier. But yeah.
I'm sure there's somebody watching right now. Again, once the interview is going to be live, and there are probably some Lithuanian people watching this as well. And I'm sure, you know, Lithuania has some, you know, sites for kind of that brings community together. You know, like Molėtai. Do you know the Molėtai? There's an observatory in there as well. So if that exists, that means there's people and communities of you know, who have this passion towards, you know, astrophotography and space exploration should be there. So what I'm saying, like, if you're watching this, you're from India, Japan, North America, South America, Africa, look, it doesn't matter. There's people around you. You just need to go. And then this day and age is easy. You just go and Google, ask Siri, like, what's going on around me, you know, and I'm sure you guys are going to be able to find people that might be giving you kind of, you know, great advice, because as you said, you go on the internet, you go on these forums, you kind of get lost in information because it's that much. It's too much to digest. So if you get a hold of a person that actually is doing it, you're going to get kind of, you know, first experience of what it actually takes to do, you know, to do this hobby or build it up to being a professional, you know, astrophotographer.
From my experience as well, people are usually very generous with their time. Whenever I've kind of reached out to somebody for a question or whatever, you know, they're very generous. They're more than happy to help. So yeah, it's a great community. They're just happy to share the information.
Exactly. It's just like you today.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I'm happy as well to share, you know, what I've learned. So
it's awesome. I'm very happy to be talking with you today. So a couple of questions that I have is, again, as I mentioned before a couple of times, half a year of experience currently, you know, doing all this amazing, you know, photos and work. But what will be kind of your future projects beside the Artemis, you know, moon project? What will be other, maybe your personal projects that you're looking forward to in the future?
In astrophotography, there's loads. So it's kind of coming into winter now. So Orion is starting to rise earlier in the evening. So there's lots of great targets there, kind of classic targets that every astrophotographer wants to image. So like the Horsehead Nebula, together with the Flame Nebula, the Orion Nebula itself, and then the Rosette Nebula too. These are all kind of classic images. The problem I have is I'm imaging from my balcony, so my view to the south, which is where it will kind of track in the sky, is a bit restricted. So I'm hoping this winter to be able to capture some of these objects. And then in March, there's this nebula called the Statue of Liberty Nebula, but it's really only a southern hemisphere target. I mean, it's visible from some kind of low, kind of northern latitudes, but for me, from my location, it's not visible at all. So I think what I'd love to do is maybe make use of a remote observatory and take a few images of the Statue of Liberty Nebula and process it myself. And yeah, I mean, I just think it looks amazing, this nebula, for some reason. It's just kind of a lot of nebula, are names of objects, you kind of be wondering where they got the name from, but this one, it really, you can see clearly how it got its name.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at a photo right now on Google, and it looks exactly as the Statue of Liberty.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So that is awesome. So yeah, it looks like you got some projects that you want to get accomplished in the future, which I'm sure you're gonna get accomplished. 3 books I wanted to ask you about. The books for the people who are looking to get started, in the astrophotography. Like, what will be kind of books that they have to follow and read through and kind of get the information and then know how to take this hobby on?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I am unfamiliar with too many books. The one book I could recommend, if you're using PixInsight, is Inside PixInsight by Warren Keller. So I mentioned earlier that a lot of people think PixInsight have a steep learning curve, and when you look at the user interface, it can be really daunting. So I think this book really kind of puts light to it. You can kind of see what all the processes are about, and you can, it's great for learning all the bits and pieces. But in terms of other books for astrophotography, I think YouTube, I've found, rather than books, would be my main kind of, go-to. There's some great channels out there, like I mentioned, Astro Backyard, but there's Chuck's Astrophotography, there's Dylan O'Donnell, there is Visible Dark Astro for PixInsight users. He does some great tutorials on how to process an image. So I think if I was looking for information on how to do something new, or just get started, I would check YouTube first. Other than that, then there's some great forums out there, like Cloudy Nights, by the way. Like, sometimes I would just browse Cloudy Nights, you would find solutions to answers you didn't even know you were looking for, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Again, thank you for sharing that with us. I think again, people should go and just grab whatever they can find. Sometimes, as you said, again, when it comes to the books, it's the same situation. So much information. Again, the YouTube channels, as you said, go and search these out, because maybe some people will relate more to some certain channels than others, even though maybe they have more views, more subscribers, and whatever. People just prefer different things. But just go and do something.
Yeah.
Just start somewhere.
Yeah, like if you want to kind of learn the night sky, there's some great apps out there as well. I forgot to mention those. So I would use, say if I was planning an imaging session, I would want to know, what time an object is going to be kind of high enough in the sky to image. So there's some great apps out there, like Stellarium, or I use Sky Guide, but I know other people use Sky Safari. And yeah,
it's like 50 euros for a pro version.
Yeah, some can be expensive. Sky Guide is free, and it's pretty good. You can get kind of an idea of where. So I'll tell you what I use it for as well. So my mount isn't a go-to mount, so I have to, like I said, find the image, or find the object myself. So I would use an app like Sky Guide to kind of get the general idea of where it is in the sky, and I would point the telescope there. So yeah.
It's really valuable. Yeah, really valuable tools that people should get. I mean, we live in a technology age, so there's so much technology and apps that are available out there. Again, but sometimes you just don't know. So, having a hold of these, forums and going and exploring, YouTube channels, social media, it's a really valuable tools that you can go and go and see and learn from. So again, one of the places that I want you guys who are watching this interview go and explore is Rob's Instagram account. Again, as I said, Vilnius_astro. Make sure and go and follow him and get in contact with him. Again, if you have a few questions, I'm sure he will be happy to spare a few minutes again to answer those. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I really enjoyed the show today. Great information, great knowledge, man. I mean, it's been, as you said, I hate when people say, spending like half a year in this craft, producing this work, spending all these hours and still calling themselves amateurs, So what does it take for somebody to be a professional in this space? Like,
I know, years of experience.
Years of experience, right? Yeah, but you're getting there. I see your passion is coming out, and it seems like this. Would you call it a hobby, or there is more than a hobby for you?
For me, yeah, it's a hobby. Yeah, I mean, it's something that you just go outside and you just kind of just get lost in what you're doing. You can kind of forget about what you're doing in work the day. Yeah, it's just a great stress reliever, I guess, as well. So yeah, for me, definitely a hobby. Definitely a hobby. I mean, I guess everybody would love to make some money from their images too, but not for me. I'm just interested in kind of making the best images I can, just for myself, really. I mean,
yeah, showing your kids like look at that.
Yeah, just say I kind of took this photo myself. And
yeah. Oh, that's pretty awesome. I mean, there's not a lot of people that at least I came across, that they could say, hey, look, I took a picture of this galaxy, or look at this nebula. It's like, I never seen before.
That's it. It's kind of not common to find a photographer out there. So
exactly. Awesome. So again, it's been a great pleasure to be talking with you, for the first time. I'm very happy that you spend this quality time with us. And guys, as I said, make sure to go and follow Rob. Again, I'm going to put a links down below that you can go and do so. And if you enjoyed the show, just one thing that I wanted to ask you, just share it with a friend that you think might need this information. Again, there is really great, valuable information that Rob provided today. And I want you just to share it with a friend who might be talked before about, I want to get involved into, astrophotography, astronomy, space exploration. Here we go. This is the interview for that person. So make sure to pass it along. And really appreciate the time, Rob, again. And again, guys, as always, I'm going to see you on the next interview. Thanks for watching.